What is going on, YouTube? Slimmer6 here with another video. And this video is going to be about self-love and quitting weed and the correlation between the two. Now, you might be struggling with weed addiction just as I have in the past. You might be struggling with having to smoke every day, constantly having to roll up on your lunch breaks, before work, after work, before you can get around people, before you can do productive things for your day. And it's become a crutch at this point. It's become something that you can't get away from. It's becoming a drain on your pockets. It's becoming a drain on your time, your finances, your resources, relationships that you can't really spend time to cultivate because you're too busy running away from people, running away from your problems in order for you to smoke weed, so you can smoke Zah, so you could buy weed, right? It might not even be the time that you take to smoke weed. It might be the time where you have to get away from your people just to go drive somewhere, right? And acquire it. It might not even be the fact that you sitting down to smoke, but it's hurting you in the fact that you smoke on a lunch break, come back to work, and you're less productive. And people outside of you, they could see that. They could smell it on you. They could see it in your face. They could see that your eyes are red. They could see that your eyes are low. So you're paying money to somebody to make you less competitive. You're paying money to somebody to make you slower, to make you react slower, to make it so that you don't understand things the first time it come around. You got to hear it 2-3 times just to understand what's going on. So now compared to your peers, you're a step behind. When before you might have been top of the class, you might have been the leader when it comes to this. You might have been, first in your class when it comes to this, but now you're so dependent on weed that it's not even about you being a good student. It's not even about you being a good worker. Your whole persona, your whole personality is smoking weed. And that's where it comes down to self-image. Your self-image is everything. In order to quit smoking weed, you have to imagine a version of yourself that doesn't need it. In order to quit smoking weed, you have to imagine a version of yourself that is no longer dependent on weed, that doesn't need weed to wake up in the morning. You don't got to smoke gas. You don't got to roll up first thing in the morning and hit the blunt, hit the backwood. You don't got to do that. You can wake up, brush your teeth, eat breakfast, go out the door. You're far more productive this way. Same with people that might be dependent on coffee. It's a version of the same type of thing. We all have our crutches in life. We all have our addictions, but specifically weed, because it's so culturally popular, because it's so famous, because it's so widely accepted, right? It's so widely accepted that it's hard for you to imagine a life without it. It's hard for you to imagine what you'd be doing if you weren't smoking. It's hard for you to imagine who you'd be hanging out with. Let's say you're hanging out with this girl. If you don't smoke weed, what y'all gonna do if y'all can't match on a .5, right? If you hanging out with your dog, you hanging out with your homeboys, what y'all gonna do if you can't match with that person? What's the pastime now? Is it working out? That's a lot more productive. Is it starting a business together? Which I know it doesn't sound realistic in a lot of cases, but you got friends that you get money with, and you got friends that help you crash out and squander what you got going on. You got people that help you become productive, that might help you learn a skill, that might point you in the direction of opportunity. And then you have friends that help you ruin your life. You got people that's always there to pick up the phone whenever you want to go to the club, whenever you want to do something that's not productive, whenever you want to do something destructive, whenever you want to spend your money carelessly. There's people that's always there. You want to go to the casino, you got dogs that's going to pick up the phone and they're going to ride out with you. But when it comes to actually being productive, when it comes to showing up on time for the workout, when it comes to showing up on time for work or school, when it comes to just showing up for yourself, who's really there for you? It's not that many people. When you begin to elevate, or you begin to cut some of these things out of your life, you start to see people for who they truly are. You start to see that this friend, it didn't go past me and this person smoking weed. If it weren't for this plant, if it wasn't for the fact that I'm pulling up with sevens, I'm pulling up with gas, I'm pulling up with apes, you know what I'm saying? I bring the weed, you bring the rap. That's the only type of camaraderie, that's the only type of chemistry that you have with this individual, but it's not leading you to a better life. It's not leading you to a more fulfilling life or version of yourself, right? You're smoking weed, you're trying to mask your problems with weed, you're unable to face adversity. You can't imagine a version of yourself that doesn't use trees to cope, that doesn't need to smoke marijuana to cope. You can't imagine that. And I'm telling you, the key to quitting weed, the key to not needing to smoke is to first imagine a version of yourself that don't need to do that. See me, I don't need to smoke. I'm no longer dependent on it. It's been 30 something days at this point. I'm no longer dependent on smoking weed. You have to be able to tell yourself, I love me. You have to be able to tell yourself that you love you and not feel funny about it. And you got to mean it. Whatever's bothering you, sometimes we got to sit with that. Whatever happened in the past, it might have been a bad breakup. It might have been a friend that's no longer your friend anymore and you smoked the coke. It might have been a job or an opportunity that went through your hands and you smoked the coke. You might have had a very rough day where things just didn't go your way and you have to smoke in order to deal with that pain, in order to deal with anxiety of not knowing what's going to happen in the future. You smoke to heal that. You smoke to compensate. You smoke to not feel that, right? You have to develop a resilience about yourself to where whatever it is that you might be going through, you're able to get through it without smoking. You're able to deal with every situation from a sober mind state. I feel that, especially us Black people, we could be some of the sharpest, most on point people. We could be some of the most mentally present, mindful people out here. But everything is pushed on us to make us less mindful, to make us not be able to live in the moment, to make us slower, right? You could be 16. You start smoking weed when you're 16, you're halting your growth right there. Your brain is not fully developed. And now the way that your dopamine system works, the way the hormones and endorphins in your brain work, where you get your pleasure chemicals from, is now based on you hitting the blunt. It's now based on you smoking first. So now you got to smoke. Where the normal person, they fix their bed, they get up, they do what they got to do. And that's how they feel like a productive human being. That's how they feel like they're getting stuff done. You're dependent on weed. You can't see yourself getting anything done if you don't smoke. And that's the difference between you and a person that is more well adjusted and more well rounded. A person that wakes up in the morning, tackles whatever they need to tackle. You got to wake up in the morning and you got to hit the blunt first. And not only is that time consuming, but you're also wasting money in order to get that effect. You're also wasting your resources. Time is your most valuable resource. You use time to get money and you're spending the money on weed. You might have drove Uber all day to make $80 and you take that $80, you go buy you a 7 so that you can escape the reality that you had to drive Uber. It's real, right? And that's been me in the past. I've driven Uber Eats all day just to make $60, $70 just so I could call up somebody and get some weed and enjoy the rest of my night. So what did I work that entire day for? Nothing. But people will argue you to death. Even on my channel, people will slide in my comments and say, "Oh, I don't know about you, but weed is doing just fine for me." If you're shelling out $100 a week for something, $400 a month, that 400 a month, that's over 4,000 a year. You telling me that you can't do nothing with $4,000 or $5,000 a year? That's a down payment on a car. That's a that's tuition for school. That's a new computer. It adds up, and they got our money going out the door. Your money is, you just throwing your money out the window before you could do anything productive, before you could think about what you want to do. A lot of times you sitting down, you smoking in order to meditate, but you're not meditating on that money that you just spent. So it all comes down to self-love and it all comes down to self-image. In order to quit weed, you gotta think about a self-image. You gotta imagine a self-image where you don't need weed. You gotta imagine a self-image where you don't need it, where you could do without that, and it's gonna make you stronger. You're gonna be a stronger person than the person that needs to roll up every 5 seconds. You got people that don't want to go anywhere unless they smoke first. You got people that don't want to work unless they smoke first. You got people that don't want to eat unless they smoke first. The reason why a smoker gets so skinny is because at a certain point they start choosing to smoke rather than choosing good nourishment for their body. So they start skipping meals so they can smoke. and you can see the deterioration. You can see the way this person is losing weight, and they got bags under their eyes, and their skin is dry, and their complexion not looking vibrant. It's looking dry. It's looking dull because they choosing to inhale that toxin, that toxicity. They're choosing to inhale those chemicals. They're choosing to inhale that grabba leaf, that backwood, plus that gas, plus that weed. It's tar up in their lungs. The blood is black. Your eyes is red. You feel me? It's negative pressure building up in your body because of the trauma that you're putting it through. Smoking, they put it right on the pack what it do to you. They put it right in your face. Smoking can cause cancer. Smoking can cause this and that, right? And we just willingly damage ourselves. We willingly self-destruct. So you're self-destructing your finances, you're self-destructing your health, your mind, the way that your mind operates, the way that you attack problems and solve problems, the way that you go after your goals. All of those things are being thwarted when you introduce marijuana, you introduce smoking, you introduce drugs to your body. And for us, they push it on us like it's a mild shit. You you look down the street, it's dispensaries on every corner now. They want it to be legalized because it's a competitive world. They want to slow certain people down. Anyone that's willing to be slowed down, they want to slow you down. If you sign up to be throttled down, if you sign up to be less sharp, to be less present, to be less mindful, to be less attentive, if you cool with that, to be less productive, right? To be the last person to get a joke, to be the last person that catches on when you're learning a new system at work or you're learning a new skill, you're the last person to get it, right? You're careless. You don't care about things that really matter. You're unconcerned with things that really matter. You're probably looking at the concerned individual like it's something wrong with them. You're probably looking at the person that's concerned like they tripping. But the whole time it's really just you tripping. You're not understanding that this is serious right now. So in the first person, you can't really understand the severity of a situation. You can't understand the gravity, the intensity, the magnitude of a situation because you're just trying to blow your mind. You're just trying to lose your mind somewhere. You're just trying to escape from all of this. You might have had a grueling, tough day at work. You might have had to deliver 30 packages, 100 packages. You might have had to fix on 12 cars today. You might have had to, if you might have had to work on 4, 5 patients. You might have had a lot going on. Whatever it is that you went through today, at the end of the day, you need to reflect on that. Think about what you did wrong and what you could have did better. But sometimes that blunt is just gonna smooth everything out and make you feel like everything is okay. And sometimes everything is not okay. And you need to be able to accept that, and you need to be able to address that so that you can move forward and better yourself and better your situation. It all comes down to self-love and not hating yourself. In this culture, in this society, they want us to damage ourselves. They want us to put our bodies through hell, to put our bodies through drug use, alcohol abuse, just anything that doesn't constitute or anything that doesn't lead to a good, fulfilling life in the long term. They want you to self-destruct. They want you to damage yourself. They want you to hate yourself, literally. There's so much self-hatred out here for everybody, right? They want you to put yourself in a bad predicament. And the moment you start to elevate above that, the moment you start to do better than that, the moment you start to think better than that, people are going to want to get from around you, or you're going to want to get from around those people that don't see your vision, that don't see what you're talking about. It all comes down to self-love. Quitting weed is about self-love. Quitting weed is about imagining a version of yourself that doesn't need these things, that doesn't need the person that's selling you this stuff. Quitting weed is about imagining a version of yourself that wakes up and gets stuff done. And over time, just getting the right things in order, just getting your affairs in order, just getting your mind right, you're not going to need it anymore, right? When you're able to have maybe the car that you want, or the relationship that you want, or go on the vacation that you want, when you're able to save up, stack up some of that money, that might be $1,000 a month that you're spending. That might be $500-600 a month that you're actually spending. You buy 2 quarters a week, that's $150 a week. That's $600 a month. That's a whole car note right there. That's a whole computer. It's money that's being spent. It's money that's being exchanged here. The person you go bring the money to, They're not doing nothing much more than you is. They smoking the profit. So both of y'all just in a circle, right? You just moving in a circle. Things ain't really going nowhere. Things ain't really, yeah, things ain't really going nowhere. Things ain't really moving for you. You thinking this shit sweet. You thinking you got time in this life, but time don't wait on nobody. You spending all your time smoking runts and blunts. And, you know, you don't got it on the first of the month because all month you've been blowing gas and getting high out your mind. I lived 10, 12 years of my life just dependent on something that did me no good. All it did was harm me. All it did was damage my health. I remember there was a time I was at a taco place. I passed out. I hit the floor cold. I hit the floor cold after smoking. You feel me? Just, I don't know what happened. I'm 30 years old at this time, and I went to a taco place. I smoked before I came in the building, had a couple drinks. I stood up and I fell down cold on the ground. I remember a time I had like a bump on my lip or some shit. I had to go to a dermatologist to get that shit burnt off type shit. You feel me? My lips turning black and all type of shit from smoking. You know, your blood is black, your blood is dark, it's bad air, your brain need oxygen, you're inhaling all type of toxins and chemicals. They say one cigarette got like 300-400 chemicals in it. So you think the grabber leaf, you think the backwood don't got more chemicals than a cigarette? Just even the wrap alone, more poisons, more toxins, more addictive chemicals, more things that could throw you off or throw off your body, throw off the way that your brain works. It's all about self-love out here. It's all about loving yourself. It's all about just being happy without this type of stuff. It's all about being clear-minded. You can't smoke yourself crazy, bro. You can't. Because one day you're gonna look up and you're gonna want to be sharp. One day you're gonna want to keep up with everything that's going on around you. You're not gonna want to be zooted and gone like that. You know what I'm saying? Watch these videos. You wasting time. You wasting time. But the time that you taking for granted, there's people that wish for those opportunities. You feel me? The money that you taking for granted that you smoking with is people that wish for that. The opportunities that you taking for granted, you wasting, you hanging out with these people that don't mean you know well. You look back and got damn, when I was 18, 19, 20, when I was 25, I could have did this different. I wish I wasn't wasting my time with these people. You know, I see TikToks, I see videos about people that say like, oh, smoking do hinder your success. And when you are a weed smoker, you're in denial about it. But as I get older, I realize like, yeah, like I don't really know nobody that's addicted to weed and very successful. You might have a season of great success and great comfort where you're able to smoke as much as you want, but that doesn't last forever. That's not everybody. That's not everybody. It don't work like that for everybody. You got to be able to move through life and not need nothing. You got to be able to move through life and be sober. You got to have awareness. You got to have discipline. You got to have clear mind. You got to be sharp. You got to be on your toes. A lion, you feel me? Don't wake up trying to escape life. A shark don't wake up trying to escape life. You a shark. What you trying to escape life for? What you trying to escape your reality for? Every day on earth is a blessing. Every day on earth is a blessing. You got to capitalize on that opportunity. No matter how dark it is, no matter how bad it is, you got to, every day is an opportunity. Every day above ground. You got to make the most out of that. And if you spending your money to escape something that's ultimately a blessing, what are you really doing? Don't get me wrong. I love weed. I used to love weed as well. In reality, I used to love weed. And I think I still do. You know what I'm saying? I think I'm still interested. You know what I'm saying? But over time, I just learned to love myself more and to put more importance on myself and put more importance on my mind state and my mental than me bringing my money to someone else so that they could smoke the profit and be a middleman and smoke the profit and no one's getting anywhere. so we could sit around and listen to music that's not getting us anywhere, listen to music that's actually putting you down, listen to music that's not good for your headspace or your mind space, so you could doom scroll on TikTok and absorb a bunch of content that don't mean you no good, that don't mean you no well, that's putting bad information and bad ideas in your head about life and about society. Everything on the internet is negative. You smoking something, right, to dull your mind, and then you're intaking all of this negative media, all this negative music, all this negative content, all these negative images, TV shows and movies. You're completely of the world. You have to tap back into who you truly are. You gotta tap back into who you was before this weed thing. You gotta tap back into what you loved before this weed thing. I guarantee whatever you used to love to do, if you've been smoking weed for a long time, whatever it is that you truly love to do, you might not have the attention span for that. How come when I quit smoking weed, I started having more clear dreams now? How come when I quit smoking weed, I'm able to sit down and play a video game at length now, right? How come when I quit smoking weed, I could actually sit down and read a book and focus on a book? I could go on a 2 hour walk and just listen to my thoughts. Your attention span is diminishing because you constantly need some type of fake dopamine or some type of fake stimulation. You're faking it. You're faking happiness. And I think one of the worst feelings is that fake happy feeling that you do get from smoking weed, where you're just all smiles. You all smiles. You your facial muscles, they're straining because you're smiling so hard, right? But you're not truly happy. You're laughing hysterically, but you're not truly happy. You're feeling jovial and goofy, but you're not actually happy. I feel like that fake happy feeling is one of the worst feelings, because you know when that feeling is gone, you know that you got to face reality after that. You know that you got to face the music. You got to face the fact. You got to deal with whatever it is in front of you. You know that you don't love the situation that you're in. You know that you don't love what's going on in life right now. So whatever it is that you're using to cope is separating you and pulling you even further from a desirable reality, because even though it's a mind thing with weed, it's also very expensive. It's also a money thing. And I'm going to do a separate video on that to show you weed, the numbers on paper of smoking weed, like what it looked like when you buying backwoods every week. You probably spending 200-300 a year on lighters alone. You probably spending 200-300 on papers every year by itself. You don't think you could do something with that money? To me, that sounds like a cheap vacation. That sounds like a good excursion. That sounds like going to a comedy show. That sounds like going to see a good movie somewhere. That sounds like an experience if I have 400-500 extra dollars just off the lighters and the papers alone, just off the product alone, the weed alone. I know that that money could have been used to do much greater things. Instead, I sat on my couch and I smoked. The paraphernalia, how much money are you losing in paraphernalia to get high? How much money are you losing driving to go meet this person? Plus the time, plus the risk of having this stuff in your car. You got this stuff in your car, you risking all type of consequences. You risking all type of consequences. You risking all type of consequences just so you can ride out and go get these trees. I don't think that's being fair to yourself. I don't think that's being fair to the people that's in the car with you. I don't think you're being fair to the people that might look up to you or the people that care about you. I don't think it's a fair deal. I don't think it's a fair trade. I don't think it's a laughing matter. I want you to really weigh it down on a scale, no pun intended. What are you getting out? What are you getting out of this? You spending car money. You spending house money. You spending travel money. You spending money for clothes, money for drip, spending shoe money. You probably buy a new phone, all that weed that you smoking. Stop trying to escape your problem. People that's trying to escape, you need to get away from them. You need to be able to be a realist and accept things for what it is so that you can improve your situation. I make these videos to help, man. It's Slimmer6, signing out.